Hey guys, Kit here of Burn 1. This is going to be my Nationals tournament report. It's for the North American WGP run I had. For those that didn't know, I brought Attack on Titan there. You might have seen the build in one of the previous match videos I uploaded right before going to Nationals. To my understanding, there were only 3 other players that played Attack on Titan at the tournament. It was myself, Randall, and Connor. Us three played the red-yellow corpse build. We all had a very similar, not similar list, but we all had basically the same skeleton, and then we all chose different top-ends and so forth. Probably mine being the most drastically different, I would guess. Maybe Randall's actually most drastically different, but Randall's list was really strong. And then we had one mono blue Titan player at WGP. So I'm going to get into the deck profile first, and then we'll just go over my matches and everything like that. So like most Attack on Titan builds, we're running a 4 of this Armin runner. It's 3/5 as long as you have cards in hand. With this deck, you literally always have cards in hand, so it's always a 3/5 that runs the center, which is great. It helps you save some hand in the beginning so you can play more cards earlier, and in the mirror match, and I'm not mirror match, but in any matchup where reversing things is a requirement for the level 1 game. If you don't get level 1 first, this helps you kind of dodge some of those abilities, or forces them at least to play 2 down, and just to get the +1 off of reversing one of them. It's a really strong card, and we actually play the yellow version because if you watched UA's video, and I'm pretty sure every other Attack on Titan player is going to say this, the 1/0 Armin does fetch this as a target since it only gets yellow cards. Next, which is this card here, not a lot of players are playing. I am playing 4 of the level 0 Bomb Titan here. This card is, I think, undervalued by a lot of players who play Attack on Titan, but also because I think a lot of players are thinking mostly about English meta as far as the set goes. But in Japanese, I feel the Mikasa top end isn't the best choice in Japanese. I do agree, though, it is the superior finisher. So if you're looking for a finisher that can just like knock out your opponent and like close the game out for sure, I think Mikasa is definitely better. But I think there's some negative sides to running Mikasa in Japanese. So this card has dual utility. One, we can bottom deck level 0s and everything like that. Early on, since it's a bottom deck bomb, we can bottom deck Kabans and stuff like that to avoid having it go to memory and possibly stall it out, and so they don't get the Kaban in memory, so they can't stop burns. For this deck, though, it doesn't matter, but for other decks that do run the Mikasa, that might be something to look at. The second effect is if this card is standing, you can pay 1 as a startup and send it to memory to salvage the level 3. Let me see. This Aaron here, I think this Aaron is better to run in Japanese format. I'll go a little bit more into it why I think that is. I might be completely wrong, honestly, but I feel in the mirror match it's just a stronger card. So it works as dual utility, so this goes to memory, and because of the level 3 combo, it comes back to memory to be the double striker. I really like this card. There's just a lot of situations I think this card's good. You can always play it down as a beater and to bomb deck things, put things back in your opponent's deck to make it harder for them to refresh before 1/6. The next card, honestly, I think is the best card in Attack on Titan, unintentionally, at least in this build. I don't know how other people feel, but I feel like this has to be the best card in for Attack on Titan, period. It's actually the set 1, what is her name? Yeah, Krista Ricky, basically. It's on play, pay 1, clock yourself, salvage level 1 or lower. The reason this card is so good, unintentionally, I think, is that it lets you aggressively mulligan really hard early. So this deck works super well as long as you get the combo off at level 1. It makes all your games feel very easy because you don't have to worry about hand size like that, and if you get the combo off the following turn, you still have characters to play immediately after, and if your opponent messes up, you can +2 turns in a row, which is very strong. Being able to mulligan like 5 cards, even level 0s and 1s, and draw mulliganing into this card, it just lets you mulligan super aggressively to get climaxes, which is what you need. Since you mulligan so aggressively, you can play your 0, and then the following turn play this and get back the 0 or the level 1 that you threw away, even if the 1/0 errands or the brainstormers, or even, which is one interaction I really like, since it says character and it's not trait based, it's only level based. You can get this back at any point in the game. So this makes using this card early makes this target really what am I trying to say? Worthwhile to pick this up early if you have no other good targets to pick up, because generally you want 2 of these in your hand at the end of the game, or have at least 2 of these in memory at some point. So yeah, this card's super amazing. I don't know if it's undervalued. I haven't talked to a lot of people who play Attack on Titan. It just kind of only talked to a couple players, but I think it's like, at least in my version of the deck, I would consider it like the best card in the deck. Next, for utility-wise, we only run 3 of the first set Aaron Brainstormers. The 1K to center is really good. It's yellow, so our 1/0 Armin can get it. And also, it's self-tap search your deck. We play this one mostly for the power in center because it's relevant in some matchups. And also, you know, baiting things into center can be a way to get it over at level 0 and things like that, or even at level 1. And then searching your deck is always good, you know, just plussing hand in general. This does only search for corpse characters. It's the reason I only run 3. We run actually 2 of the Mikasa Brainstormers from the second set. The reason I run this is, once again, we're playing this level 0. This is a traitless salvager, so since it's traitless, it can get the level 0 if need be. But also runs the secondary effect when every character moves. You can give that during attack phase. You can give that character 500 power and the effect that the opponent across from this basically has to front attack it. So it's really good to force people to lose hand early and things like that if they misplay into it. And then also makes your level 0 Armin 4K when you do move it to the center. So you can force your opponent to randomly minus that way too. Unfortunately, it is red, so it makes me very sad that we can't get it off the 1/0 Armin. One thing to note though is I do run 5 Brainstormers here. The reason I do run 5 Brainstormers is there are matchups and games where you do run into the problem of not drawing the wind trigger for the level 1 climax combo, or even just like both opponent and you are just causing each other to not be able to plus, especially in the mirror match. So in those situations, I think having an extra Brainstormer defined is pretty good, since both of them are self-tap Brainstorms. You can have 2 Brainstorms in the back and just, if need be, Brainstorm both turns to just keep plussing the hand, because the deck becomes pretty much a very vanilla deck if you don't get the combos off. Alright, so we're going to go into level 1 game here. This is the main piece of level 1. I'm going to take this and the events. Here we go. The maneuver gear and the 1/0 errands. If you don't know by now, this card is really silly. As long as it gets the reverse combo off, you're just going to have a great game. So on attack, it gains 500 for every other character basically, except for Krista in this deck, I believe, and the level 0 Titan. So if there's a Mikasa, Armin, or other Aaron, it gains 500 on attack. Secondly, the climax combo, which combos with the wind trigger. If it reverses the battle opponent, you get a salvage the maneuver gear, which is great. You just +1 there. It also dodges anti-salvage, which is great. But then it gains a secondary effect. When this card gets front attacked, you can bounce it back to your hand. So what's great about this is that if you get multiple of these off on your first turn at level 1, you deny your opponent level 1 combos, as everyone has been saying, but as well as you plus during your opponent's turn if they front attack it. So what happens is you can end up like a lot of games just end up with like 9 cards starting after you draw and stuff like that. So it feels like you have a lot more cards than usual. This also generates cards for you to play the following turn, and if your opponent misplays really hard and you bounce these back to your hand and then you still have another wind trigger, you can double plus off of them, and I think at that point your opponent just should generally scoop. Well, not really, but it should be like a super easy game at that point. So because the combo gets you the 1/0 It gets you the maneuver gear. There's also a 1/1. I opted not to play it in this build. I think in the mirror match you might want to tech 1, maybe 2 of in the deck, because I think it's really strong in the mirror match. But besides that, I just think generally the 1/0 from set 1 is better. This card changed how the deck plays. Before it was like a deck that would just deny things at 1 and just like slowly mill cards out of your deck and things like that. Now I feel like this is used more as a tool for toolboxing from your deck, which is great. And a lot of times in certain matchups, it makes anytime you end up going hitting level 1, not 1, I'm sorry. If you hit level 1 second, you can use this to just deny them again without having to do the combo. In some cases, your opponent will hit you to 1, and then you can at least save 1 or 2 characters and deny them like a lane or 2 of their reverse combos with this. But like I said, this is mostly used as a toolboxing tool now, at least in my opinion. Randall, I don't know if his video is out yet, but he does make a point, which is the same reason I love this card, is that whenever you use this on your opponent's attack step, or when your opponent's attacking into you, you just increase your odds for canceling, which is amazing. You know, just every little bit counts, and it helps you fix hands. You can ditch climaxes that get stuck in there and everything. It's a great card. I like how this deck runs, like this engine going on here. But at the same time, I feel like it's an unfun deck. Next here, we're gonna get into our other level 1 game. Basically, this card here, the 1/0 Armin, it comes into play. You can reveal up to 3 cards on top of your deck, pick a yellow character or a 1/0 maneuver gear, add it to your hand, and discard a card from your hand. This card ran occasionally, like very rarely, like less than 10%. I don't know the actual percentage because I did not do the math, but it sometimes can neg you 1, but most cases it should not neg you. This card lets you mill cards out of your deck, maybe get more 1/0 maneuver gears into your waiting room, or it helps you find the brainstormer. That's why I run 3 instead of 2 and 3 the other way around for the Aaron brainstorm, and other things like the 1/0 Aaron for your combo and things like that, and like level 3s and stuff like that. It's just a good card. It's basically a secondary level 1. You kind of use it to unscrew yourself in situations where you do not get the combo off, or you're already out like 6 climaxes like 3 turns into the game. Things like that. It's a solid card. It's not the best card, but it gets the job done for what it's there for. Finally, we run 2 of the 1/0 support. It's a global 1K on your turn, then you can tap and give an extra 500 somewhere. This card is pretty important in certain matchups. Not every matchup this card's very important, but this helps your level 1 combo get over things and get out of counter range, and the extra 500 on side lanes and stuff like that ends up making your side lanes like 9K with an extra 500, and then your center is like 9.5 to 10K with the tap. So it makes it pretty annoying for your opponent to deal with because they can't usually counter to that high in most cases. Next, we're going to go to the level 2 game. Here we run one of the 2/1 Mikasa change. We run it as a 1-of because the way the deck works, it's so toolboxy at this point that at any time you refresh, because you're usually refreshing around 1/6 or earlier, you can just use the gear to find the changer and then go from there. In some cases too, you might already have the 2/1 in hand. You just use this on your opponent's turn to mill a level 3. That way the following turn you get the guaranteed change. It gains 1K whenever you play a corpse character from your hand up to 2 times a turn, so it becomes 2/1 9K. And then usually in the middle it's like 10K, or on the sides it's also 10 or 11K, and then sides is 10K. So it gets over most things at 2. And then changing and healing early is alright. I think the Mikasa changer is pretty, like, before going into this event I thought it was pretty strong just because of the run effect mostly, and how it dodges the counter the first turn it comes out, so you get the heal off and still get the stock and everything. And being able to dodge like 2/1 anti-level 3s at 2 is pretty good. A lot of decks nowadays run that, so being able to pay 1 and move things around, and or possibly cause your opponent to -2 when they didn't really think they were going to -2 because you paid the 1 is pretty good. Following the tournament, though, I think I'm actually going to take this out for some other spicy stuff that I learned from Randall. Next, we run one of the 2-1 stock bomb for a higher level. The reason we run this is one of our outs to Vivid Strike and other level 3s that we don't want to deal with. And also, if your opponent is playing the 2-1 Aaron change into the Titan, or the trap card basically that when it gets front attacked, what you can do is play this down. With your support, it's bigger than the 2-1. And if you front it, then your opponent can't really choose to swap into the Titan, because if they do, they just lose the Titan. So this forces them to not be able to change into the 3-2 Aaron Titan, and they just kind of lose out on that. They do get that 2-1 Soul Beater for 1 turn, which is nice, but this card is one of the outs to it. Unfortunately, it did not come up in my matchup because some misplays where I couldn't play that to force the guaranteed loss of the 2-1 Aaron. Next, we run a 2-1 of this Armin support, or a changer actually. It changes at your encore step to the 3-2 from the first set. Where is it here? It changes at your encore step. This gets sacked and this comes from your hand. It has a secondary effect, which is tap, give a character 2,500 and make it untargetable. This is really good in matchups where you need to make your entire field untargetable, or at least for 1 turn something untargetable. So in some situations you might play this and keep this too on the field at level 3. That way these 2 slots here are untargetable, and then you can tap and give the last one untargetable. So when you're playing matchups like against TLR, you just make your whole field untargetable, and they can't do anything about it really. So they can't darkness counter and stuff like that. It's a really strong play, and also the extra 2,500 power is pretty good, especially at level 2. If they play anything big, you can buff a 1-0 Aaron and combo still, and at least get a plus from that. We do a 1-1 line of this. Like I said, the deck is super toolboxy, so I think in this deck, for the most part, it's really easy to do like 1-1 lines like this and not have to worry like 90% of your games about missing it somewhere. You just got to keep track of when you do trigger these and put them in stock or anything like that. So if there's any problems, you just know where it is and either pay it out or like let it get buried because you plan not to change or anything like that. Finally, we're getting to level 3s here. We run 3 Mikasa level 3s. Honestly, I probably played one too many of this card in this version of the deck. I still think this card is strong, just not as strong as I originally rated it as. But in Japanese, like I said, there are a lot of 2-1 bombs that kill cards that are higher level than your current level. And it's also a healer, so changing into it, it's pretty good. It kind of might prolong your level 2 game just from healing 1 and being able to run and make your opponent's attacks or characters like attack in awkward ways and stuff like that, because you'll be able to run away from things or run into things, forcing them to have a hard time to set up their field at 2. I think the card is solid. Like I said, I don't think it's as strong as I originally thought it was. If I keep Mikasa in the deck, definitely 1 is probably going to get cut like instantly. But yeah, still a solid card, so it's a good choice to go if you plan to still run Mikasa. It's also red, so it kind of makes it harder on your 1-0 Armin when you do reveal these. Finally, the top end of this. This is our choice healer and our finisher. It combos with the other wind trigger, the Outcry wind trigger. So a lot of people have been talking about the Mikasa level 3, and I 100% agree that as a finisher itself, it is the better finisher. It just can close out games more consistently and make sure your opponent just dies if they're at like 3-3 or even 3-0 if you are able to triple Mikasa. The reason I feel that this is a better pick in the deck for the mostly is because even though a lot of people do not like the level 0 Titan here, I think these 2 cards, the way they interact and everything for the deck, is really strong. I think this helps you set up 2 turns kills a little bit better than the Mikasa does. Even Mikasa is a little bit more aggressive. It's not a healer, but this is a healer as well, so it's like double utility. It I think in a lot of situations it's just a little bit better. Also, if games go really quickly, or for some reason you have to spend a lot of stock because you're having a bad game, you gotta brainstorm a lot, to get 5 attacks off with this card, you only need 6 stock going into your turn at level 3 when you want to do that. So what happens is you like play this, bond to the level 3, play another one, bond to the level 3, then play the level 3s and you're at 0 stock, and then you just put a little weenie on the other lane that costs nothing. And then this lets you still get 5 attacks off that turn, which is great. And then these are like 2 soul beaters because of the climax. A really good setup, usually what I'm going for every game I play this, is that I want to play usually like 2 of these from hand or something, healing down once I hit level 3, like from like 3-2 down to 3-0, and then kill their stuff with this, and then have 2 of these in my hand. So on the following turn, I either let my opponent kill it and send it to waiting room, or I use the 1-0 maneuver gear to move it to the back row if I know I'm going to need to because of stock issues. So in that case, I go down to 3-0, they hit me, and then play these. I bond back the following turn to my healers, heal down again, and then go for game by playing the combo and going from there. I really like that this combo for 5 attacks, you only need to start the turn with 6 stock. And if you've done these earlier in the game, you also then you only need less stock at the end of your game to actually be able to do the combo, which I think is great. One other thing too about this package that I really like is that your only stock outs basically for triggering climaxes are brainstormers for the most part. Is there anything else? At level 2, I guess you do have level 2s. But earlier on, this is a good stock out way to pay out a climax whenever you do trigger one early on. So you can do like brainstorm, and play this or something like that to pay it out the stock. And you don't feel as bad because you do get a good level 3 character off of this. You do compress a little bit more by paying out a climax and then putting this in memory. So it doesn't really hurt your compression that much. It does hurt your stock a little bit in those scenarios, but I feel like that choice is fine. So that's one of the big reasons I thought this is better as far as Japanese format goes, and I actually honestly think that this is a stronger pick in the mirror match. The mirror match itself is just cancer. I haven't had like a lot of playtesting the mirror match. I've only played it like a handful of times. I've won every mirror match so far I've played, and most of the time this is the card that gets me there because my opponent can't deal with the 5 attacks because this is uninteractable. So this card is when it attacks, you have 2 or more other characters, it gains 2k, so it's 11k on attack. Climax combo, oh, it's a healer. Climax combo, pay 1, ditch 1, sack 1, bring 1 of these from memory out. Because it doesn't have any requirements other than being able to attack and playing the climax, it's uninteractive, so your opponent can't really do anything other than tap counter it. But in those cases, like I said, you can make your whole entire field untargetable, so your opponent can't really tap counter anything or anti-damage anything. Because of that, your opponent can't really play around anything. Whereas in the mirror match, a lot of the mirror matches, when people play the Mikasas, I always make sure to keep a slot open, and most of the time you're not using these after you get them back from your hand unless you're searching for really specific things to kill your opponent. So you usually have at least 1 to 2 of these in your hand, so you can run away from the Mikasas, making their on reverse effect useless. They still get the pings from the climax combo, but that's not as scary as you know, being able to double ping me when they attack. Because of being able to run away and causing it so that your opponent can't really double ping you and end the game sooner. Pinging once is kind of scary, but it's nowhere near as scary as double pings. So it usually, most of the time, you do live an extra turn where your opponent thinks they should be able to kill you because of either this card or anything like that. So because of that, I really think this is better in the mirror match, even though it's not as strong of a finisher. It does, there's nothing that really can like stop it other than not drawing into this, I guess, or salvaging it back or anything like that. Another reason I thought this was a little bit stronger in Japanese too is because 8 win triggers. Normally I'm a fan of just having 8 plussing triggers, but 8 win triggers in Japanese I think at this moment is a pretty strong choice if you're able to run it and still have a really good deck, because there are a lot of early plays that are annoying that you can just bounce back to your hand and not have to worry about it, not have to get the 2-1 to send it to stock or anything like that. You also can screw with opponents that play anything after level 1 that costs stock, or even at level 1, you can just bounce anything that costs stock. So like in the TLR matchup, I think I bounced back their 1-1 support like 3 or 4 times. In the mirror match for Attack on Titan against Randall, I did bounce back his 2-1 Aaron like 3 times at least, I think maybe even 4. For sure that was one of the reasons I was able to clutch that game out, even though that whole game was like pretty dumb. And then, so there are other level 3s that do run, like if you play against Bank Dream a lot, they do have that running level 3, which is really annoying. Or even their early play 3-2, was it Tai or Tay or whatever her name is? You can bounce that away, and then that's just like, they neg pretty hard because they played it early. Yeah, there's just a lot of decks right now that just early play level 3s that cost a lot of stock, or they have to invest a lot into. And being able to bounce that stuff away and not having to waste other resources on it is pretty sweet. I just feel like whenever I get a bounce in early play, I feel super far ahead. And in those matchups too, where I bounce supports that are like cost like a stock or something, I feel like when things like that happen, I just increase my odds of winning by just ever so much. And if it happens multiple times, I feel like it just closes out the game for me, because they have to keep spending stock and resources into either replaying that card or things like that. It's kind of annoying sometimes if they get the +1 off of the win trigger, so in some cases you don't do it. But yeah, I just think 8 win triggers right now is like, at least going into Nats this year, was a really strong choice. I might be completely wrong, but I feel like a lot of times when someone complains about my deck, they complain that I win trigger their stuff too much. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else about this deck. For anyone interested, I think as far as English meta goes, you should really check out Randall's video. His deck tech should be coming out soon if it's not out already. If you go to my channel, there is a link somewhere, like a recommended link. His YouTube is the Pesh Cat's YouTube channel. He has a lot of good content on there. Very wishy-washy on when his stuff comes out, but that's totally understandable. But check that build out. I think that build is definitely better for an English meta, because I think Mikasa in English's level 3 finisher is absolutely insane. But I still think, if you guys in the comments below think I'm like stupid about thinking this is better in the Japanese meta or in the mirror match, just go ahead and tell me how dumb I am. But maybe change my mind or whatever, or why the Mikasa is just straight up better. But yeah, getting into my matches. So it was a 6-round tournament. I did end up unfortunately not placing top 16. I had a pretty good run though. I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get top 16 this time around. I feel like if I got into top 16, I could have easily made it pretty deeper into the tournament for sure. So my first round going in, I played against Excel World. That matchup is actually absolutely horrible for them. I feel bad for them. That game also was a very silly game where my opponent basically didn't do anything the entire game and died in like 5 turns because they just kept taking damage and weren't able to do any combos, since I was able to get my combos off, so they had no targets to reverse, since Excel World needs stuff to reverse to do anything. So that was like a no-brainer game. I'm pretty sure that matchup's like 7-3 in Attack on Titan's favor if they're playing Aaron. Next, my second match was against TLR. I forgot the player. It was a really good match. I think his name was Jason. I don't know why I want to say Hayate, but he had a Japanese last name. He was a really good player. That was the matchup where I bounced the 1-1 support like 3 or 4 times, which was really annoying. He was also playing the card where if it gets front attack, you pay 1 bounce back to your hand. So our game was basically, we both were denying each other all game, our reverses. I don't think he ever got a climax combo off at 1. I think I got 1 or 2 off that game from the Aaron. It was just enough to just close out the game very easily. I don't even think I did the climax combo at 3 against him. But yeah, it was a really slow game though. We both built up a lot of stock that game, and we took a lot of time because we were both working at denying each other's game plan for the most part. Came out on top on that game. It was a really good match. I had a lot of fun playing that match. I don't know how much. I talked to him afterwards. I think he ended up going 1-2 at the end, which was kind of surprising because he was playing TLR with that stuff. I thought it was a really strong, solid build, and I don't think he made any really bad mistakes during our match. So I was kind of surprised of his placing. But hey, that's Nats for you. Sometimes things don't go your way. Round 3, I played against Randall in the mirror match. We absolutely both did not want to play this mirror match. It was really dumb. Like, the Attack on Titan mirror match when we're both playing Aaron is the most cancerous thing in existence in Weiss right now, I think. Going into the match, we kind of talked about it before we started the match. Hopefully this doesn't get us in trouble or anything, but we both know this matchup when we play the mirror, it takes absolutely forever to finish. So we kind of agreed if time went a little too long, like one of us would call slow play on the other so we could get a little extra time in for the game. So I think like when there was like 5 or 10 minutes left in the game, had Randall call slow play on me, and then we got about 7 extra minutes in. Luckily we were still able to finish out the game completely. That game was really dog crap the entire time. As Randall put it, that game was, we were just both like potatoes doing nothing basically. We both didn't really get our combos off. We both didn't do much until level 3. At level 3, like I misplayed really hard the turn before. Randall lived an extra turn because I miscounted a climax that I forgot I buried, and instead I brainstormed thinking I was gonna 100% hit a climax, but instead I whiff on the brainstorm. I'm like, holy crap, how did this happen? And so it prevented me from having one hand to be able to ditch, to be able to summon the level 0 Titan for game. So Randall had a turn of attacks on me, which was like the most scariest thing ever. I was at 3-2 and he ended up getting me to, I think 3-6, maybe 3-5. But either way, I lived that turn like a madman. It was just insane. Like that entire game was so silly, but it was a good game. And I beat Randall there. Yeah, so going after that was 3-0. Shouts to Randall though. I think he made top 16, but then lost in top 16. I was his only loss for the entire day before top 16, which was pretty funny. So he went 5-1. So yeah, it was a really silly day. I hate the Attack on Titan mirror match. Round 4, I played against my co-host on Burn 1, actually, Julian. He was there with Konosuba. This matchup, honestly, I think was supposed to be heavily in my favor. Oh, there goes the train. But what happened there was I basically bricked really, really hard. I kind of blame myself more than anything because I made the mistake of not mulliganing aggressively that game when I should have. I forgot, man. I wish I could remember what my hand looked like. If I could take a picture of that. It was a really hard decision going into it because I remember just my hand being looking super good, but I was missing the wind trigger, which was the biggest mistake. I think even if your hand looks amazing going forward, you should just dump it. Just dump it and look for the wind trigger because the wind trigger is so important in this matchup for the level 1, or not this matchup, but any matchup for this deck. Otherwise, the deck just kind of bricks and it's like the saddest thing ever. So I bricked pretty hard. There was a turn where he had all these aquas up front, and I was like crying because my hand had 3 errands in it, and all I needed was to draw the wind trigger, and I would +3, and then +3 more off of that errand. And I'm pretty sure at that point the game would be done. Like being able to plus off an errand 3 makes you feel so good. The second you do that, you just literally stop clocking for the rest of the game. Being able to stop clocking after like getting like 2 errands off is amazing, but getting 3 errands errands off is just super amazing. And then the way that Konosuba works, if you do not know, it just basically all ends on the what is it? I can't remember her name right now. The level 3 double striker. So it would have been able to like double plus off of that. That game like totally should have been mine. Unfortunately, you know, I just bricked and potatoed so hard. It just turns out that Attack on Titan can't deal with 5 attacks at level 2, and then a potential 5 attacks at level 3. He already built so much stock too at one point where I killed his level 3s at 2, but he paid 6 stock to encore his level 3s, and then proceeded to wreck me the following turn. It was like, if I had more time testing with this, like I only play tested about what, 10 to 15 games with this deck, probably 15 games with this deck before going into Nats, which was totally a mistake on my part. I should have spent a lot more time testing, but I was just so busy that I didn't just make time to play test. Instead, I was too busy with work and everything, which is really unfortunate. That was definitely my mistake. I really miss being able to play test and just get a ton of games in with a deck before going into a major tournament like this. It's kind of depressing that I feel like that was one of the reasons I did so poorly at this event. So I just eat a bunch of damage, and then the next turn I eat a bunch of damage, and there was nothing I could do about that, unfortunately. I even set it up so where I moved like my level 3s to the back row, so he would, with his swings, he would have to overswing, and unfortunately that did not help. So I lost that match. Shout out to Julian. He did get top 16. I think he lost in top 16 as well, like first round, which sucks. I was hoping he'd go a little further. And shout outs to him for playing Konosuba. He told me he rolled a die to decide his deck, and I guess it worked out for him for the most part. Unfortunately, he didn't make it any further than top 16, which is, like I said, depressing. But yeah, finally after that, went into round 5. So at this point I'm 3-1. I play against my friend Aubrey. He was playing Love Live Sunshine. So this matchup, in my opinion, is it's really hard to gauge how good that matchup is for you or not, because the level if they're playing Chico 1-0 bomb combo, which he was, it's kind of annoying in that matchup, and in some matchups like the Techno Titan Mirror. You need to keep the 1-0s in your hand, 1-0 maneuver gears in your hand to be able to deny them if they get to level 1 first. If you're able to deny them at level 1, you should feel like you're in a good position. So that's what I did since he got to level 1 first. I denied all his Chica salvagers combos. It felt very good. The problem was on the backswing, I also, or in this game, this was the first time I think after playing so many games of Weiss, I literally actually opened up 5 climaxes. I don't know how, like, that is really annoying. And if I had more play testing with this deck, I feel like I could have played myself out of that situation better. But because I had so little playtesting with this deck, I never was in a scenario where, like, I've played scenarios without having the win trigger before, a few times in those like 15 matchups I played. But if I had more playtesting and I opened up like horrible, absolutely horrible, like that, I think I could have played myself out of that situation better. But because I was never like in that situation before, I really didn't know what the optimal plays were going forward and what I was actually looking for. So I just kind of ate a lot of damage, and then he got I think I got 1 Aaron combo off that entire game against a level 0. What's really bad about that matchup too, after denying them, even though if you play the like 3 Aarons into their Chicas, Chica just kills your 1-0 Aaron, so you lose out on that, and then they get 2 soul on the backswing of that, which really sucks. Whereas the 1-0 Aaron, if it was alive, it would deny them a soul there. I think the matchup is like really close to 50-50. It just totally depends how the match plays out. If they're playing the 1-0 Chica, yeah, that matchup has to be really close to like a 50-50 matchup, depending on, it probably totally depends on who hits 1 first and everything. So yeah, that really sucked. I ate a lot of damage. He was able to get his early plays out. I tried to make as many optimal plays as I could, but towards the end of the game, I just got a little unlucky there with my opening and just ate a bunch of damage into level 3. I don't remember what I left him at. I think I was really close to killing him, but I didn't have the combo for my double strikers at that point. I couldn't find the other win trigger for the combo, so I ended up not being able to combo him out, and then the following turn he just burned me to death with Yos. Unfortunate. So that ended my entire Nationals run, unfortunately, this year. Pretty depressing. I expected to do a lot better, but you know, looking back at it now, I made some really dumb mistakes heading into Nationals, like not actually playtesting it enough with a deck I'm not familiar with, especially since I didn't play Attack on Titan like the first set at all, so I didn't really know any cool tricks or anything like that. So I had to like kind of base everything off of just those few games I played with this, like the 15 games or so I played with this deck. But yeah, so that was it for the run. I feel like this deck is really solid. But check out Peshkat's Randall's deck. I think it's a far, I don't want to say far superior, but it is definitely a superior deck if you're looking at English format for sure. And probably honestly it's probably better than this build, so check that out. But this is something worth testing out if you plan to play against a lot of Attack on Titan mirrors. I think the level 3 Aaron is just superior. But I mean, if you're dodging Attack on Titan and everyone's playing other stuff, then who cares? Play the Mikasa. The Mikasa is just too good to not give up if you're not worried about the mirror match or any matchups where your opponent can just deny reverses. So yeah, that concludes this WGP Nationals tournament report and everything like that, and Attack on Titan deck tech. If you have any questions about the deck or anything about the challenge, go ahead and comment below. Don't forget, we'll be having a refresh point coming up with Randall as a special guest this week, along with Miles Whitesmith. We'll be doing our WGP recap about the tournament and everything, and all the things and how everything ended, and all our expectations and if we met those expectations or not, and other things like that. So be sure to check that out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And for those interested, we do have a Patreon open to support us if you would like. There's a lot of cool rewards there. Go ahead and check it out. There's a link below for it too. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.